What is going on, L&M family? I am here with the glamorous Rocio Luna, who is like a baller, just recently got a super cool recognition award from Rise Professionals, the top 35 under 35. She is a specialist in helping contractors and staffing agency lower their EMRs, and maybe we'll learn a little bit about that. I just know the letters. I don't know too much about that. And she's got like a super solid presence on the socials. I've seen you on Instagram. I've seen you on LinkedIn, and we'll dive into that. But before, I'm sorry, y'all, I got to give the shout out to the L&M family member that took the time to leave a super awesome comment. This one goes out to our buddy, Mr. Henry. Henry says, his story is important for us all to hear and read. I know it will have a great impact on the men and women in our industry. We need every voice that is willing to give their part. Each part makes the whole. Henry, thank you for that. And folks, Henry's referring to the stories that I shared in the book, the tell-all book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. So if you haven't gotten it, check it out. I know Rocio did. And here we go to Miss Rocio. How are you doing, sister?
I'm doing fantastic, Jesse. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am beyond excited. And just like what you mentioned, if you have not gotten a copy of that book, you are missing out, guys. The link is on Amazon. It truly is impactful. Just like what Henry said, everybody has a story to tell. And I definitely resonated with your story. And I think a lot of other people everywhere across the nation, no matter what industry, where you come from, we all have a story that we could talk about.
Yes, man. And thank you so much for that. Because I know you went and spent the money, read the book, you shared a thought with me, which was really meaningful. It's a beautiful thing because I didn't know what to expect. Definitely, I wasn't expecting Tom Cruise or Salma Hayek to come like knocking on my door. But even better than that, what has happened is people have shared how the stories have touched them. And some people have even shared like it's motivated them to live life differently. And that was the whole entire point. And speaking of living life differently, you came across my feed. I don't know how long ago it was, but absolutely captured my attention with your energy, your professionalism, and your messaging. Is that something that you just were born with and just, I'm just smart. I'm going to help everybody out and show my intelligence through video and social medias?
No, definitely not. I was definitely not categorized as smart neither when I was in high school or even college. I went to college just to show my family and to be the first one to graduate from college.
Okay.
But definitely smart is not where I get categorized as, but on delivering my message, it's definitely something I've been working on. And then you get that through like just being consistent, and then you find your swag to say. Yeah. And I honestly would have never thought that EMRs would have taken me this far. I honestly thought EMRs was just such a boring topic. If you're not in the workers' comp space, or if you don't bid, and it doesn't affect you and you really don't know. But then once I started talking about EMRs and the calculations of it, I was surprised of how much traction I got. People saying, oh, can you talk more about this, or what is it? And that's what led me into my whole ebook and then talking more about what I do for my clients. And next thing you know, I'm like on 35 and under 35.
That's amazing. So first, like for real, what is EMR? What is that?
So EMR is Experience Modification Rate. So an EMR is a rate that is given to you by the state of whatever state you are. But here, since I'm talking about California, so California rates you on your company's claims history and safety record. Wow. So pretty much if you have an EMR below 100, your rating and safety is good. Anything above it means that there's some issues that you have going on. Anything above 1.25, now you're like in the hot zone, it's red. And for companies, you get rated on your EMR for your insurance. So your insurance premium is based on your EMR rating. So it's very important that you keep that rate low to keep the cost low. And also when you're bidding, you look more attractive to the GCs because you say, okay, this company over here, they have their things together.
Yep.
They are following safety protocols, they know what to do, and they really take business serious versus someone who has an EMR of 1.5.
Yeah, yeah. And the bonding, it's added risk to the general contractor. Also, that means people get hurt working for them. So that's not a great thing. Now, were you like in 6th grade at the school dance and said, I want to be in EMRs? How did all that happen? What was the path? Because you're pretty successful. You're out there. You mentioned you've got an ebook that I'm not sure, is the ebook coming out or is it out already?
No, it's already out. Yeah. So the first one, so I have 3 books now.
Ooh.
But the first one I got, the first one that came out was was last year during Christmas. And that was more about like EMRs, like claims management, just like overall workers' comp, the broad workers' comp. And then the 2 other ebooks that I have, one is about how to control your costs with audits. And then the other one's about lessons that I've learned for commercial agents. So like 3 valuable lessons that I have learned. But going back to your question, so in 6th grade, no. So in 6th grade, actually, I was a nerd. So that was never any school dances. I was not ever like, I didn't even know I wasn't involved in any of that until like freshman year of high school.
Okay.
But when I was in 6th grade, I was a super nerd. I used to play the violin. I had a rolling backpack. I had so many things going on. And I was definitely a big time nerd in 6th grade.
And so what was that progression like? And the reason I ask is I think back to when I was in 6th grade, I was also like mega nerd, right? I didn't know it, but everybody else knew it. And I remember thinking like the path to success is this straight line. If I just do these things, I'm going to live my dreams and whatever that is. My experience has definitely been very different than that. And what I thought I was going to do is not at all like the life I'm living right now is nothing I would have expected even 2 years ago. And so for you, being at 6th grade, we're both nerds, so we're in good company here. What was the progression like going through growing up and entering the workforce and then getting on the dang top 35, under 35? That ain't small. That's a big deal.
Let's say my life was like this, and then it was like this. Like it's been like what is it? I'm trying to think of the word.
Roller coaster.
Yeah, like a roller coaster. There you go. Not a stock. A stock, it has value. It goes up and down. Definitely a roller coaster. So to take you back, in 6th grade, 8th grade, I was just like super nerd, really nerdy person. And to give you more back end, my mom had me at 16. So my mom was a young mom. She's young. So I'm 30. My mom's 45. And yeah, she's young. So we grew up like sisters. So me and her were like growing up like sisters. And I was super nerd in middle school. And then I went to high school. And my mom thought it would be cool to do a complete makeover on me. And she took me shopping, got me my hair done. And that completely changed me. So I went from like nerd to like super rebel. And then I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And I just got really into the party life.
Yep.
And that's probably like more like 16. And I was like 16 and 19. And I learned some really hard lessons during that time. And then I had gotten to this relationship and it was bad influence as well. And then I learned another lesson there. And then at 21, 22, I said, okay, you know what? I want to remake myself and be sober and take everything I've done and rebuild myself. So I went from this party person to this isolated gym rat. Like when I mean isolated, I meant like I was that loner at the gym and I would hang out there by myself. So I used to work at a gym too. So that kind of really like access.
Yeah.
So I went from this whole party scene to remaking myself at the gym, just being by myself. And I listened to a lot to like self-development books. So I had a lot of Jim Rohn. I had that book called The Millionaire Mindset. And there's another one, Poor Dad, Rich Dad, like all the classics.
Right.
I started doing all of that just to get my self-development going. And I graduated from college, just basic. I think I got like a 3.2 or something. Graduated. And then I landed a job in insurance, but I got there just by me randomly applying. So I applied at all entry level positions, and they called me up because they needed a bilingual person to come in, and they really needed someone, and I really needed a job. So I was like, okay,
it works.
you know?
All right. That's okay. And so you got an insurance and you're killing it now, right? Everything I get to see that you're doing tells me like, all right, like you've got it going on. I'm sure the business is ecstatic with you. But you mentioned something that I want to pick at a little bit.
Yeah.
You talked about reinventing yourself, remaking, rebuilding yourself. And I know when I reflect back on my life, I've done that a bunch of times. Some of the times it was like a rehabilitation renovation, right? Like I was in trouble and I needed to learn I needed to start doing life differently. Some of the times was like, okay, I'm capped out here. I want to experience and contribute in different ways. And so for somebody that's out there right now, that's like on that edge of, man, either this path ain't working for me or this path was great, but I'm ready for a new one. What are some things that you would recommend to them to start like remaking and rebuilding themselves?
I would definitely say for anyone who's trying to rebuild themselves is to listen to your soul and your heart. Because once you start asking yourself whatever reality you're living, it's because you're questioning because you deserve better. So like when you feel inadequate, you're like, okay, like me, when I was in my claims position 3 years ago, I was like, okay, like the most I could do is become a claims supervisor. But I know that there's more to me than managing files and managing people. And I feel the pain points of the clients. So I want to transition over here. But I also think coming back to your own personal life, if you feel some inadequacy or something, you need to really digest and take it apart, but also don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be like, oh, what's wrong with me? Oh, am I doing enough? Because I think sometimes we get caught up as adults because you're on this mission. I think you can relate to this. You just want to come on top. And I think with someone who might come up from the ADHD side, because I know I definitely had that when I was younger. I probably still have it. But you always want to be constantly like on the go. Do it. Come on. Do what's next? What's next? And then when you really start to sit back and you see things, it's, you know what? I need to really focus on myself. Because when you have so much going on, and that's when you start to feel like the overwhelm or the burnout, because you're really focusing on everything else, but not on yourself.
I love this topic. So when we talk about focusing on yourself, you've seen the posts on LinkedIn and but probably more on LinkedIn than anywhere else about work-life balance and self-care and this sort of thing, which I know early on, like you said, yes, I'm super hyper and it's very easy for me to get lost in my obsessions. And none of those obsessions are around self-care and restorative behaviors. And so I'm getting the sense that you're an accomplished woman. You want to grow. You have an awareness that you have greater capacity. So there's a couple of things there, right? You got to perform and do your thing and go out there and be on top. And if you want to grow and contribute greater, you also have to invest in yourself by learning and access coaching, access mentoring, which is also a time thing. So how do you reconcile the obvious necessity to take care of yourself with executing on whatever you're committed to now and growing yourself as a human being and a professional?
I think it's a learning process because I feel every day you reinvent yourself, because I always see it like, every day, I try to be the better person than I was yesterday, because we all make mistakes, right? I know in the past I've had tantrums or I've gotten mad. So for me, when I was growing up as a teenager, I had like anger problems. I tell people, like, because people ask me like, oh, you're so disciplined, you're so organized. I'm like, I was the complete opposite when I was in high school. I was like the Tasmanian devil, just like the cartoon. Just like just destroying he just gets mad and just destroys everything. That was me. I was very impulsive. But once I learned how to control those sides of me, now I'm able to wrap that up and okay, now I could use this in the right way and not destroy myself or destroy things around. Because I think when you live in chaos too, you get used to that. I guess you could kind of say I excel in that because I'm going through businesses that are in chaos. Yes. So I guess psychologically, I'm still looking for that. You know, like if you like self-analyze myself, I'm like, I do think about that.
Oh, girl. So I feel that. Like that hits because same, right? I identify more with animal from the Muppets than the Tasmanian Devil. I don't know if I had the drum player, the crazy wagon.
Yeah.
That was me. But I remember when I started working on myself and getting my addictions under control and stabilizing my decision making, that things calmed down and settled down. And I was like, what the hell is this? Something's going to happen. And the best way I can frame that is I also had an addiction to chaos. And if I wasn't, or rather when I'm not in some chaotic environment, it doesn't feel right. Like I need moving parts and drama and stuff and like all kinds of things going on to feel level. I've learned to not create it, to help people that are going through it. Like I can steal their chaos. I don't need to make my own chaos. So I totally.
But you could say now that you've learned through your chaos, you want to help people in chaos.
100%.
Right?
You nailed it. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so helping people in chaos, how do you do that?
If I go back to my business, from a business standpoint, and I try to uncover it through showing pain points, and because people really don't know that the house is on fire until they feel pain. Because sometimes they'll be they don't see it, but it won't be until they have that pain or until they hit rock bottom where they're like, okay, you know what? I need help. But it's okay because I've hit rock bottom too. And that was my, like, I flipped the script once I learned my lesson. I'm like, okay, this is not the right way. But you could only hit the wall so much before you know that this is a wall, and whatever you do, you can't go through it.
I laugh because it sounds like duh, but I think we all do that in different venues in different ways, right? Like it's not working. It's not serving us. It's robbing us of joy. And we're just going to keep trying it because maybe this time it'll work, and it doesn't. And so you mentioned rock bottom. My experience with rock bottom is that it's not one singular space or level. My experience is that rock bottom is relative, and it can get lower, and it gets lower every time until you make a significant change. What do you think?
I agree with you. Rock bottom is when I feel like you realize that you're in this situation, and if you don't get out of it, because it's only you who could help yourself out. And I think that once you're fed up, or you realize that you dug yourself in this hole, and you're like, oh, I did this to myself. And I think it's just until you really realize that, and then you start to take a step back, and you're like, okay. And also, honestly, I think people get an impact when they start seeing the loved ones, the people around them. They start to change, because you start to see that when you're on your rock bottom, you might be hurting people, either your family, your loved ones, your friends, and they start to get away from you, or they don't want to be around you, or sometimes, which I also think that in a way that helps you out, because sometimes by offering, like, being a parent, and if you give everything to your child, that child's never going to learn until you separate from them and you let them learn on their own.
100%. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to try not to be too nosy, but since you've experienced rock bottom and I've experienced rock bottom, we've had some pretty low lows. You've touched on a couple of things that I think are like super important in terms of like personal development and the path to success, right? I know when I was in that dark space, yes, there were loved ones and people that cared about me, that the best thing they did was like disown me because I was just dragging them down, and it hurt. At the same time, there was a group of people that were like my accomplices, and they almost made it okay to be where I was at that point. Did you have the same situation?
Yeah. And I think it's like that saying, misery loves company. It's true. Once you start realizing, because it's very few of the people that, because anything could become addicted, right? From food to alcohol to people themselves. You can become addicted to loving someone, whether it's you're obsessed with that person, and you could become addicted to drugs. You can be addicted to anything. But in all reality, people that have an addiction to something bad, it's because they haven't healed themselves inside, that they're looking to fill this up. So let's say shopping addictions. I guess you could say I had a shopping addiction maybe when I was early high school. If I didn't walk out with something in my hand or something that would fill me up, like I was always looking for something to do that. But once you start doing more inner work and you start to realize, okay, the people I'm hanging out here who are drowning in alcohol, drowning in drugs, drowning to be the life of the party, but it's only a moment of dopamine. So you get all this intensity, like, yes. And then next day you feel like crap.
Yep.
You're like, my pockets are empty. I made a bad decision. I'm hungover. I feel like shit at 12 p.m. I can't even go to this family function because I don't know how to get to it. But if someone hits you up and says, hey, let's go out again, there you go. And it's like a whole cycle. It's like this non-ending cycle.
Check it out, hometowners. So Primo, he's a little bit embarrassed about like asking for some backup, some esquina. And so I want to hit you up and like if you're digging this content, pues give it un like, give it the stars or leave a comment, But if you really, really want to see Primo like get all chiflado, like for the reels, hit him up on the socials, Holmes. Like if you give him a comment in the socials and let him know what you thought about the thing, pues he's gonna light up. But only do it if you mean it because, yeah, you already know how Primo is. Se cree mucho el cabrón. So if you could do that, if you could leave a comment or a rating or the stars or whatever, that would be cool, man. Yeah. So for folks that are in that cycle or a similar cycle, what do you recommend they like maybe 2 or 3 things that they could reach out for and hang their hat on to get out of it, to break the cycle?
I would say, oh man, that's hard. I think everybody has a different way of learning things, but I feel like if they know what's hurting them, you need to accept it. It hurts and seek out help. A lot of people don't seek out help. And if I would have known, I learned on my own through isolation. Once I separated myself and I just isolated myself completely. But even through that time, if I would have thought maybe I should have sought a psychologist, or maybe I should have sought someone to like look out of this trauma and see how it is. Because when you're traumatized and you're seeking more things, you're going to put yourself in bad situations that might even traumatize you more. Anytime you're under the influence or you hang out those type of people, you're more likely to do a bad decision. Versus if you would have healed, you would go through the healing stages. But for someone that is looking to help, I say, if you don't feel confident talking to your friends or family about that issue or your loved one, seek a psychologist. I cannot tell you, there's so many adults that haven't talked about inner things that have happened to them in the past. And they carry this this child that's been hurt, who's screaming for help in the darkness. And that's something that I'm very big on, because I've lived through childhood trauma, which I think is like the biggest thing that if you've ever been, gone through that, you need to heal that person. Because sometimes it is also a cycle, because you may not be able to connect with your family because maybe your family did it, or it's something that goes on in your family. And these are things that people don't talk about because they're like, oh, not in my family, or this is the family secret. Don't say this. But those are the things that people that have been hurt and need to work on it.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Simple, right? Ask for help, which is the hardest damn thing. It took me forever to invest in getting a therapist. Like the first few years that I had any kind of therapist, it was all state mandated because I was on probation and I was on paper for 20 years of my life, like for real. And it wasn't until this last time that I got a therapist. Found her all by myself, went online and called and set some stuff up. I haven't talked to her in a few months, so she's going to be mad at me. But she's amazing, and it's been like tremendously helpful for me because I got to get stuff out. And I guess what I love about what you said is we don't have to do it alone. I mean, you talked about isolating. That is my nature also, to isolate. But what I've discovered is by inviting people into my life, that my experience on this rock is 1,000,000 times better than what it used to be. So speaking of inviting people into your life, on the path that you've been on, and it feels like you're on it looks like you're on a rocket ship. I don't know what it feels like. How active are you, or what are your thoughts on seeking mentors, connecting with other like-minded people, engaging in a community of folks that have the same type of energy and similar ambitions? Where are you on that subject?
I think having a mentor is absolutely the most impactful thing you can have in your life, because from a business standpoint, if there's someone that you're a great mentor because you're someone who's overcome it, who's been there, done that. And if there was a young Jesse If that's that young Jesse that was just starting out in plumbing school, apprenticeship, heartbroken, exactly what that kid's going through.
Oh, yeah.
And you could give so much more advice. So same thing for any mentor, like anyone seeking mentorship. I totally think everybody should have one, and should not just one, have various ones for different topics, and you can learn something from everybody.
All right. Agreed. 100%. Now, what's the formula to get on the 35 under 35 list?
So the formula to get under 35 list is to be very active. Help, definitely always say, do it. You have to be there because everybody on there is because they're very proactive with their clients. So their clients are the first people needs. And just like you put people first. And when you put people first, it's not more than just a transaction. It's about making sure that I deliver the best results for you to get everything for you. It's like you become more successful for the more people that you help out, but you put others first and before yourself. So being proactive, relationships, and following your passion. So if whatever your passion is, it's like making sure that you deliver it with that sense of love that you have. Definitely love.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, putting others first, right? When walking in service to others.
Yes.
Has afforded me the most amazing experiences. And it sounds like that's what happened in your case. Now, you're, like I said, you're very visible, super engaging, like the content that I've been able to see that you put out. And again, like this is only in a short period of time, 6 months-ish. What was that like? What was your path? Because I feel like most people, I say most people, but most of the people I know, they had a social media account, didn't really use it much. And then for some business reason, I'm one of those. It was like, oh, wait a minute. I could be more social and I could do things with video, etc., to grow my business. What was your path like?
Yeah, and I think it's definitely something like yours. For me, I think I saw a couple of YouTube people and I'm like, oh, like I always wanted to do it. But I was like, I don't know. I don't have the right camera. I don't know what apps you're using. And I just saw this guy say, just post. Started off with posting and then you'll just go with how it goes. But I definitely started off from the business side. And then I noticed I was getting traction on it. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to post more things. And honestly, it's just about whatever your niche is or whatever your voice is, there's someone out there for you. And there's audiences for everybody. And then even if you don't have an audience, you can follow, because I like listening to different things too. I mix it up. I like listening to everybody's perspective. And I think that's a beautiful part of social media. It gives you like this whole genre, and you could connect with people from any nation, any country.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I've made tons of friends all over the world, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. And not just like loose connections. Some of them I've collaborated with, and we've produced things with already that are out there in the world for other people to consume in terms of content. Others I'm working with now, like just so met a bunch of them. And now it's like a good excuse for me to go travel the country and say, I'm going here. Hey, I know you live in California. You got time, and do that. It's super special experience. I have put my foot on the gas on LinkedIn. I am struggling on Instagram. I'm on all the socials, but my preferred platform is LinkedIn. Which one do you like the best and why?
Okay, so I think LinkedIn and Instagram are whole two different things. Yes. Because LinkedIn is more professional. It's like definitely the more professional, more censored. Yeah, it's more like professional. So you can definitely, if you want for business related things, I say use LinkedIn, because you're able to connect with different companies. You see who they are, who they're connected with. And then on Instagram, you do have to spend more time, in the sense like you have to add, the way I grew my social media, Instagram, I use the ads. So like the ads on Instagram. So I'm not sure if you ever used the ads.
Not yet.
But that definitely has helped me, because Instagram will show you who your audience is, who's visiting your profile, who's clicking on your things. And then they'll send them the ad and then to their contacts. So then, these people follow these people. But it's the same thing with TikTok. Because like on Instagram, everybody's just like, you're scrolling down. And it's definitely more casual, I would say. It's more like casual, laid back. People post like pretty pictures or they post about their day. And then some people post about their business, and people sell things on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's this weird collaboration of everybody, because you have Instagram models and you have little doggies and you have the construction, you have the range of things.
Yeah.
And then with LinkedIn, it's more a set basis. You have your people.
Yeah. And so do you prefer Instagram or LinkedIn? Which one do you have most fun on?
I think I would say for business related, LinkedIn, but just to have social media, like a social media presence, it might be Instagram. But also I think it might be the age too. So I'm 30. Yep. And I've noticed that people who are like under 35 tend to have more like success with Instagram, or like they're more on Instagram. And then people like under 18 or 25 and under, they're more on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm struggling on that one too, except on TikTok, I probably have more action on TikTok than I do on Instagram. And for real, I don't understand. Like, yeah, I got some highlights here. So I'm not 30. I don't like, Instagram's kind of weird for me. Like, it's social media, but it's hard for me to stay on that platform because of what you said, right? There's dogs and cats and models and pictures and videos and ads. I'm like, it's like cold menudo. I don't warm it up. I don't understand this doesn't look attractive or appealing to me.
No, because on Instagram, people are going to follow you because they saw something, but then they won't revisit your page. They're just like, oh, I'm just following you. I saw something and I'll follow you. And then they'll see, I'll follow. I guess to me, that's how people get so many followers, is they're like all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely harder to get a community in on Instagram unless you're selling something. So if you're selling a product or something, you're more likely to grow a community.
Got you. Okay. And I love that you brought up community, because I'm actually, that's the whole reason I'm on the social media, is to build a community, right? Mm-hmm. To find amazing people that can challenge me to grow and to contribute to their path. And so in terms of community, what things do you look for in terms of becoming part of a community or pulling people into your community?
I think what I look for in the community is support. So I look for good energy, positive energy, uplifting people that are just like trying to help you out, rooting for you, and being some type of support. So that's definitely something that I look for. And then to pull people into my community, I always try to see like how I could serve you. So like right now, obviously on LinkedIn, my community is anyone who wants to follow me to get more tips or advice on your workers' comp or insurance, and then contractors and staffing agencies. But I think community you have to resonate with the message. So whatever the message is, you want to resonate with that community and feel that you have their support. So if you have an issue, like, reach out to you, Jesse, say, hey, I'm having this, or do you know someone that could help me out? And I'd look for people like, we have someone in common. Like Lance is like the biggest like connector. He's just so good vibes. And that's what I like. If I have someone or vice versa, he needs someone, then you could exchange information, get them connected. And I think that's a beautiful part. We all could be a big part of this big piece.
Yeah. You know what? I love that you bring up Lance. A lot of people do, right? Because Lance is just a special dude. Like, he's an amazing guy. I got to hang out with him in real life in Monterey, California. It was amazing. Super awesome cat. I'm like, oh, this dude, we're going to do a lot of things. Anyhow, what I especially like about the community that we have going on LinkedIn, and when I say we, that's just like a broad term for the people that we support each other, is there's this reciprocal energy, meaning people contribute and support each other on their posts. They share ideas, they share knowledge, they share time. And that's important. That's super valuable. And people receive it. I don't know if that makes sense, because there's been some people that I've been around, some groups that I've been around over the years where they're happy to, example, you and I are in this group. I'm the authority, so I'm going to bless you with all of my knowledge. But I ain't got time to take any expertise that you might have. You ever experienced that?
Yeah.
So that's not fun, right? Like, for me, it's got to be an exchange. And that's what I really appreciate about the folks that are on there now in the community that's growing. That's what I'm looking for, right? Is like people that are willing to contribute and also prepared to receive, because we have all got gifts and talents that we can share with one another. It's not all just business, right? It's not all about revenue growth and expanding reach. That's a part of it, but it's also connecting, like having relational connections, not just the transactional stuff like you mentioned earlier. So in your business, because I'm not clear exactly, I recognize you to be an authority on the EMR thing because you share a lot of really good. I'll listen to your advice. I'm like, man, I think I understood what she said. Like you say it so clearly that even I understand it a little bit, except for one. One got me a little scared. I was like, man, she got hit me with the chancla. I feel like I'm in trouble on that one. But it's hard for me to discern. And I wonder if the L&M family is probably curious too. What is it exactly that you do? And what is it that you intend to do?
Okay, so what is it that I do?
Yeah.
So I'm a commercial insurance broker for staffing and construction companies. So what is it that I do? I provide workers' comp, general liability, auto, all of that good stuff.
Yep.
But beyond just providing a quote and service, I also provide you with a risk management plan. So what gets included in my risk management is a safety program. And depending on your claims history, we develop that. So if your claims history is, we have a couple of claims, we're going to develop a plan that's either going to be based on the type of claims you're having. So if you're having auto claims, it's based on that. If you're having minor first aid, it's going to get based on that. And then besides that, you're also going to get access to an HR hotline. So you get access to this platform, which you get connected, and you'll also get connected with other safety vendors who are within my network. That's basically like, if something happens, shit hits the fan, I'm here to help you, and we're going to walk you step by step.
Wow. That's a pretty comprehensive service. Nice. Okay. I could see the picture now. I see the connection. And just makes now like the power of your content is like 10x what it was in my head because of the connection, right? Like you're just helping people. They can take your content and say, oh, no, I don't have a safety plan. I think that was the video that I saw. I was like, I'm in trouble. Rocio's going to get me. Okay. Awesome. And you said you've got three ebooks. Where did the ebook, did you just say I want to be an author?
No.
Did you use AI to just generate these ebooks for you? What was the motivation and that learning curve like?
Yeah, so luckily my ebooks are so simple. I always think the best way to teach anyone or to deliver the message is always keep it simple. So if a third grader can understand it, that's where I feel like it is. And then with me too, I'm not like this insurance degree. I use all these because once you start using these big words in insurance, nobody understands.
Yeah.
So I always try to keep it super simple, to the point. And my ebooks are like maybe 4 to 5 pages, and each section has a little picture. And I try to make it, somewhat funny to describe what's going on. And then can I just get to the message? But to your question, I did use this program called Typeset.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's basically, it writes out like a doc. It doesn't write out. It just drafts it out like the body for you. So it'll tell you like where to add the picture, how to design it to make it look pretty.
Yep.
But writing it, no. It was just super easy. It's just like, here's the problem. This is what you could do. Here's another problem. Here's a solution. It's just very simple.
Yeah. So it sounds like that app formatted it for you, but the content came from your brain.
Yes.
Okay. And what's funny, because the formatting is the piece that I struggle with the most. I got plenty to say. I got plenty, chingos of stories and lessons learned. But it's the formatting that drives me up the wall because I don't care about it and I don't have the interest to learn. Could it look prettier? Everything I do could look prettier. Am I going to put time into it? No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, most definitely with me, like my ebooks are super simple. They're just like, if I look at them, like it looks like a basic how to, but it's free. And if you're interested, download it, you get something out of it. I'm definitely going to concentrate this quarter on making YouTube videos. Yes, I'll be making like how to go through an XMOD, just like, more free content just to guide people, because I think there's value to that, showing and demonstrating how-tos.
Okay, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you right now, what do they look for? What do they type in the search to find you?
Yes. So if you want to find me, you could honestly just type in Rocio_INS_services. And that's my Instagram name. That's also my TikTok name. And then on LinkedIn, you can just type in Rocio Luna, and I think there's only like 3 Rocio Lunas.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that I think I'm the first one that pops out. But same thing, you'll see my Instagram name highlighted there, RocioINSservices.com. And yeah, that's probably that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll make sure and put the links in the show notes so people can follow you, etc. on TikTok even. Oh, girl, I got a confession, but you can't tell anybody.
What?
Have you seen the drizzle thing on TikTok lately?
No. What's a drizzle? I need to look it up.
So drizzle, there's these dudes that started this trend about being in their soft guy.
Oh, yes. So I heard another guy talking about that. I'm in my soft guy era. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you haven't seen Rocio? Because he's older too. And it's like when I'm saying like, you can't pick me up unless you're making 100K. And if you're going to come in your Honda, do not come in your Honda because you gave me that cheap girl, broke girl vibes. And then I started laughing, but it's so funny. But you know what? To go off that trend, I truly agree. I'm sorry, but all those woman videos, you women did this to yourselves.
Preach, girl, preach. I got to confess, today I was feeling myself because I had the nice shirt on and the gray. I was like, you know what? I recorded a drizzle soft guy era video today. It's on TikTok.
Nice. Okay, I need to go look at it and support it and reshare it. But yes, no, you know what? And that just goes for the men too. Value yourselves. Because I think a lot of men, you can't grow up. And it's also a social standard. So you're like, you know what? I need a kiss butt, or I need to like do things because she's a woman and do this. But there's a difference between treating a woman right and then treating the right girl. Because there's some people who are toxic. Yes. And you won't know it. And we both know people who have been in really bad divorces. Oh. And it's, as a man, you need to set your boundaries. Yeah. Don't let some woman walk all over you just because she's a woman or she's the mother of your child or whatever it is. You have to give yourself standards too. And to your case, I think this soft guy era is coming up because I'm going to say there's like a lot of women on social media who are like living this delusional reality where they think that they deserve more. They deserve the moon and the stars, but they themselves aren't bringing much to the table. Yeah, I love it. And I've just let you know, when you see the video, it's a joke. But man, it felt good saying it. I was like, man, I wish that was true. It was a goofy. But I agree with you 100%. Like for whatever gender, we are always conditioning, or rather helping people understand how to appropriately honor and respect us. And so if I don't honor and respect myself, ain't nobody else going to do it. And it needs to be a mutual exchange. It can't be a one-way thing because I think you said it, right? That's toxic. It's bad. You end up losing yourself. And I've been there, like sacrificing everything that was important to me for the favor and attention of somebody else. And it didn't matter what I sacrificed or what I did. It was never enough. And I became a shell of who I am. And you don't have to be a guy with great hair to have that experience, right? Everybody can be in that situation. So I appreciate you bringing that up. All right, round and third, going home. The big question, I know you studied for it. You've done a lot. You've accomplished a lot. You're contributing a whole bunch into the community and to your clients and to yourself. And so thinking forward, what is the promise you are intended to be? The promise that I'm intended to be is to be a person of service and also a person that's a role model for anyone, for any aspiring child, like anyone who feels that right now they're like teenager trouble, anyone in trouble. I want to show them that there is a light. And if I was able to overcome all these other obstacles, so can you. And that's my life legacy. I just want to be able to help out as many people as I can in any way I could, but definitely showing them that there is a light and you don't have to be in this dark hole, darkness by yourself. It's going to be a process, but you'll make it out. And then once you see the light, then you could share the light with everybody else so they can have that light themselves. The ripples, right? Serve one person, they serve two people, and it just grows. Amazing. Rocio, one thing I hope you hang on to, I want to and am committed to contributing to your path. So when you can find an excuse for me to serve you in some way, please just hit me up. I will. And also, you got any shout outs you want to give to your people out there? Yes. I want to shout out to everybody. Keep pushing hard. there's always a storm before the sun.
Mic drop. Awesome. Did you have fun?
Yes.
Dang, you stuck around all the way to the end. And I hope the reason you stuck it like all the way through was because you were getting a lot of value out of the conversation. I always get at least one, most of the time, a handful of good nuggets, good ideas, good perspectives that I can take and apply into my life going forward. That's the whole point. I want to share that with you guys and also highlight the amazing people that they are. And I want to end this by saying, if you feel like you've been living out a script that was written for somebody else, and you feel like you're in the wrong skin, I know that life. And all I did was numb myself to make it through to another day, which if you're there, you know how hopeless that feels. I want to recommend that you check out Becoming the Promise You Are Intended to Be. The stories in this book will help you know that you're not alone. They're my personal stories, like the real stuff that I went through, and I'm sharing them because it helps keep me sober. It helps me contribute my gifts and my talents in service to others. It helps me turn my failures, my shame, my embarrassment into something useful and positive. So check it out. Be kind to yourself, be cool, and we'll talk at you next time. Peace.